Hello, welcome to Into the Interview, Making a Good Impression with Michelle O'Quinn. So my name is Michelle O'Quinn, just a little bit about myself. I have 20 years experience as working as an employer. I employed over 180 employees at my previous job. I was the program director for 3 sites, and I was in charge of hiring everyone and training my staff. At this time, I was also a parent. I am a parent of 7 children. At one point, I found myself as being a single parent to 7 children while going to school and working full time. So that in itself took a lot of time management. Um, and also I have experience with CalWorks. So CalWorks is kind of like the TANF program where participants would be required to obtain work experience training with myself. Also, I had parents who were enrolled in our program um, under CalWorks where they had to obtain childcare prior to even starting the program, and they would obtain work experience and then eventually um, get gain employment, which is it was a really neat program. Um, and many times with the staff that I had, after I trained them, they became one of my employees if they were good. But because I trained them, they were good. The contact information here, we're on East Main Street in El Cajon. The number to the SCARE office, 619-328-0676. And then my email is michelle@scareinc.org. So our agenda today is going over preparation, things that we need to prepare prior to the interview, showing up, how we should show up to this interview, making the first move, the STAR method. That's a method of explaining your skill set to the interviewer. We'll go briefly into the interview and then interview follow-up. When we're applying for jobs online, there's so many jobs that are available and at our own fingertips. So when we're applying for employment, we're not just applying to one job. We have the opportunity now to apply to multiple jobs. We have the opportunity to apply to jobs in a range of areas of employment. So you may have a skill set that may be qualified for several jobs and job descriptions. So when an employer gives you a call back for a job interview, you want to look at the job description for the position that you had applied for. So you want to look into the roles and the duties of that job that you are going to be interviewing for. If it is an organization or a smaller company, you may want to look at the organizational goals if they have any. Some even small mom and pop restaurants, sometimes they have like their own organizational goals or company goals that they want to be part of the community in which their business is located. So they may have organizational goals. Educational qualifications, see if your educational qualifications are in line, or maybe you have some other educational skill sets that may compensate for what they have listed as an educational qualification. Um, Double check with the skills needed for the position to make sure that you have those skills or you have the ability to obtain those skills. And then salary range. Um, Make sure that if the salary is listed, that it is within the range that you desire. Research the company. Um, You want to research the company and their background. Who are their competitors? Check out their website if they have social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out their social media, see what's going on with this company. Like, um, what's the social environment like, um, and what are the trends within that industry. What is the company culture like? Are they in the news? Is there any information about the CEO or the people that work there? You want to know um, their product or the service that they're providing. You should have a basic understanding of the main products and services of that company and what they offer. And then the more that you can tell them about themselves, the better that you'll be able to perform during the interview. Also, you want to research the role that you'll have. So it's important to read the job description carefully to make sure that you understand all the requirements and responsibilities. And so that you can, because those will be the target questions that you'll be given during the interview. And then it'll be easier for you to answer them. You want to look at the company culture, the impression or the tone that you get about the company and what's the company's personality. Your qualifications. So there's 8 types of qualifications. So you have your work experience, um, you have your skill set, your education, specific knowledge. So there you may have skills or specific knowledge that's to a specific department in that organization. Professional accreditation. So in some professions, they have their own accreditations that you have to obtain. Um, and then you have personal qualities and attributes. So those would be your soft skills and your personality if it jives with, if you mesh well with the company. And then languages. So if you speak a different language or several different languages, that's always good to have on your resume. And that your physical ability. Mock interviews. It's a mock interview is a practice interview, but why should you have one? A mock interview is a process that helps the candidate gain confidence with the chance to reflect on their nonverbal and verbal communication skills. And it also provides an opportunity for the interviewee to make mistakes and to work on correcting them in a safe environment. So if your friend is giving you a mock interview with just questions that are asked on a regular interview, it gives you an opportunity to come up with an answer prior to going into the interview. So it's kind of like taking a pre-test and you're not graded before you go into the interview where you are. Another aspect of preparing for the interview is your travel. So you want to search the location in advance so that you know where you're going and possibly how long it's going to take you there, to make sure that you're at your interview on time. Save the interviewer's contact information just in case something happens, just in case you're running late, which I hope you're not, um, but anything can happen. Number 3 is have reliable transportation. And number 4 is to leave early. Back to that reliable transportation. If you know that your car is not the best, figure out how to Uber there or take a Lyft. Also, another route is figuring out how to take the bus there or public transportation. Dress to impress. So you want to prepare your clothes what you're going to wear beforehand. This is not the time where you want to pick your outfit out at the last minute. So if you're going into a business setting, you want to make sure that you're trimmed, well groomed, you have a tie that complements your suit, matching jacket, trousers, dark solid colors, long sleeve button down collared shirt, um, dress socks, and clean polished shoes. For a professional woman, just neat and groomed hair, a matching jacket and pants, or skirt, briefcase instead of a handbag, conservative hosiery, near skin tone, and closed toe shoes. Um, Closed toe shoes for both business professional and business casual. Um, So with the business casual, you can get away with not wearing the jacket and not wearing the tie. Um, for the women, for business casual, it would just be a cardigan, a sweater, a blouse. You can get away from not wearing the matching suit jacket. You can wear khaki, slacks, knee-length skirts, and always it's closed-toed shoes. Copies to bring. So more companies are having interviews with multiple people, um, being the interviewer as opposed to it being one-on-one. So you would want to bring multiple copies of your resume and possibly copies of your certification, depending on what type of employment you're going into. Sometimes, depending on what it is, they may ask for um, to see copies of your certifications, um, especially if the hiring process isn't really long. Um, they may want to see it, or, you know, hopefully, if you're hired, they may want to take a copy of it so you just start your hiring process. So bring multiple copies of your resume because multiple people may be interviewing you, and also bring copies of your certifications just in case they ask for it. Make the first move. So when you're making the first move, um, you are introducing yourself first. You're putting your hand out to, um, you're extending your hand to introduce yourself and to shake hands, and making the first move does not start at the interview. Making the first move actually starts as soon as you walk out the door. You walk into the door, sorry. You greet the receptionist. You greet everyone, extending your hand. Hi, it's nice to meet you. And, so your interview starts as soon as you walk into the door. Prepare answers. So, as I said before, you should have that mock interview that has those questions, that you can start preparing before you walk into the interview, as such as, tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Why do you want to work for this company? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Those are the basic questions to every interview. And at this point, it's time for you to know yourself. Um, and just make sure that your key points address the employer's needs and interests that are indicated in the job description. So this is a time for you to know yourself, and to be, tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? Those are things that you should know. So, and these are questions that you should prepare to answer, possibly in a mock interview, so that you can get feedback as to possibly how your body language changes when these questions are asked of you. What does your face say when you're answering these questions? How clearly are you answering these questions, or are you beating around the bush until you can come up with an answer? Um, so depending on, how you do under pressure, you may want to have one or two mock interviews just answering these questions, because these are the basic questions that interviewers ask um, during an interview. The interview. So be aware of your body language, know your resume, know the job description, and then just ask for clarity. If they ask a question that you're not really sure, like what they mean by that. So just, there's no harm in asking for clarity. The STAR method. You may be asked to explain a situation that happened, um, and this is their way of figuring out um, what how you perform under pressure or how you problem solve. So they may ask you to describe a situation where you had to use leadership skills, or describe a situation where you had to work as a team, things like that. So these are called behavior questions. So they want, the answer that they're looking for is, how would you handle this situation? So along with the other 5 questions that were in the previous slide, this is the next question that's always asked. Each area of employment, they have their own set of questions regarding what would you do if, and those are behavior questions, like I said. So you would describe the situation that you were in at the time that relates to the question that they asked. The next, you would talk about the task. You would describe the task that you had to do. So you would highlight the challenges, the constraints, the deadline, or whatever the issue was. So you would highlight the task. Then you would get to the action. So you would describe the action that you took in order to resolve the problem. Um, how you took action with teamwork, or how you took initiative, how you showed leadership, or how you showed integrity in that situation. And then you would go to result. So you would describe the outcome of your action, like what was achieved, what improvements did you make, how did you save the company money, how was your service executed. Communication. So when you're in your job interview, you want to make sure that you're communicating effectively. So you want to use a strong and confident voice. Speak slowly, because speaking too quickly makes you appear nervous. Avoid filler words, and a filler word is an apparently meaningless word or a phrase or sound that marks a pause or hesitation in speech. And common filler words in English are like, okay, right, and I can say for myself that I am still working on these filler words. It is a process, but once you're aware of it, um, yeah, I just said so uh, common filler words, I use them myself. I am still working on it. It's a hard process, and it'll be a process for you as well. And make sure you stand straight, or that you're sitting up straight, and your body language is just as important as the words that you're saying. Non-verbal communication. So maintain eye contact. If you're doing a Zoom, just, you may want to um, look at open your Zoom before your meeting if your meeting is over Zoom, because you might be looking at the screen, but because your camera is situated a certain way, it may look like you're looking far off to the left or far off to the right, or looking down at them or looking up at them. So you want to make sure that your camera is like face to face. So check your camera before that to make sure that you're maintaining eye contact, because it may not be your fault. It just may be the position of your camera, and that's something that you can alter before you have your meeting or your interview. Practice good posture, and so you can practice your posture in your mock interview. Um, so practice your good posture, make sure that you're smiling. So along with your copies of your resume and copies of your certification, bring your smile. Avoid unnecessary movement. Keep an open stance. You want to avoid crossing your arms because that body language communicates that you're not open or that you're holding back. And then nod to show interest and that you're paying attention. At the end of the interview, you want to ask thoughtful questions. This doesn't mean that you're asking questions to show that you're so intelligent and that you're smarter than the person that interviewed you. These are just thoughtful questions about the job position. So it's questions like, can you describe a typical day for someone in this position? Or what are the top challenges for this job? Or how did you define success for this position? Um, Another question would be like, who are your clients? How are employees evaluated and promoted? Um, what is the current management style? And for some, it might be important to ask, like, am I working independently or will I be asked to work in a team? So this is, for some people, this is an important question. I mean, because honestly, some of us were good working as a group, and there's some of us who would rather just work by ourselves. And it's okay. It's really okay. Either way, it's fine. So you have the follow up. So after the interview, you want to send a follow up email, and you'll include your name, the position you interviewed for, and the date. Keep your email as brief as possible. Show respect and gratitude for their time. You want to follow up within 24 hours of your interview. Have a positive tone and attitude conveyed in your email. Proofread your email before sending it and include any information that you forgot to include in your interview. To review, you want to prepare for your job interview. And so in this preparation, you want to make sure that you carefully examine the job description. Um, you want to um, consider why you're interviewing and your qualification. Be prepared to explain your interest in the opportunity and why you're interested in this role. To review, you want to carefully examine the job description. So the more you align yourself with the qualifications and qualities and background that the employer is looking for, the easier it is for you to answer the questions in the job interview. Also, you want to consider why you're interviewing for this job and your qualifications. Because during the job interview, you have to be prepared to answer and explain your interest in the company, your interest in the opportunity, and why you are the best person for this role. Also, in preparing, you want to research the company. You want to research the product and the services that they're providing. And you should have a basic understanding of the main products and services that the company offers. You want to be able to tell them about their company while you're interviewing. You want to research the role, and at that and that's why, like, researching the job description carefully and making sure that you understand all the requirements and responsibilities. And then that way, when you're answering the questions, you can target your answers to what the company is looking for and what the company needs. And you want to research the company culture and what is the impression that you get from this company. You know, is it laid back? Is it very strict? You know, and you know the type of individuals that you'll be working with. Number three, you want to make the first move. Just know that, you know, you're on interview time as soon as you walk through the door. Make sure that you're shaking hands and that you introduce yourself and that you bring a smile as soon as you walk through that door. The other is to implement the STAR method. So using the STAR method is that you will discuss the situation. That's what the S is for. So, and this is the STAR method you would use for those behavior questions. The behavior questions are those questions where they ask, what would you do if? And every company has those questions. And usually it's because something like that has happened and they had an employee who did not make the best decision in that particular situation. So they ask these behavior questions. So they would ask for you to give an example of a situation. You know, what task did you do? What was your role in that situation? The action, you know, what did you do? What did you do to resolve this situation? And then they want to hear about the resolution, like um, what were the results of the actions that you've taken. So it's the STAR method is how you would answer these behavior questions. The interview, you want to make sure that you know yourself again and know your resume, because they're going to ask you questions like, tell me about yourself. Why should I hire you? What qualifications do you have that makes you the best candidate for this job? Um, and then you want to follow up. And so some questions that you may ask, you know, and oh, sorry, after the interview, you should ask a few questions of your own, such as how are employees evaluated and how are they promoted. And this way, the interviewer can kind of give you an idea about the company culture. Who are your clients? You know, what is the management style here? You know, do I work independently or will I be working with others? You know, questions like that. And then afterwards, you want to do your follow up, and you'll just send a brief email, you know, thanking your interviewer for their time, um, and things like that. I would like to thank you for your time and watching into the interview, making a good impression. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Michelle at scareinc.org. Have a great day.